Okay, Hebrews. This is the Prophets of Awakening. It's our evening Shabbat class, the 10th of June, 2023. We're picking up with part 2 from this morning, connecting Zerubbabel to the book of Daniel and to Antiochus Epiphanes, and the end time. So with that being said, I want to introduce listeners and anybody that come across this video to Prophets of Awakening. You can go to our channel and check out our videos. We have a lot of information given through the videos, and they will connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving through the videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to donate, we have Cash App on the bottom of the screen. And that's if you feel the need to. It'll be greatly appreciated also. This is a non-Messianic channel, and we deal with let me get it. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which are also called the books of the law, that was given to Moses on the mountain. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. So, with that being said, we're going to do our moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, and read the Psalms, and then we go into questions, Q&A, and then we go pick up where we left off this morning with connecting the dots with Daniel and Zerubbabel and Antiochus. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay, along with Yahweh. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we know that you possess the power to do just that. For we desire to walk after you, O Lord, and to keep your commandments, your testimony, and your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine down upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be on you. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go into, I'm going to read the Psalms, then we'll do some current events. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read Psalm 29. It's a voice of the Lord in the storm. It's a psalm of David. It says, give unto the Lord, O ye mighty, give unto the Lord glory and strength. Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thundereth. The Lord is upon many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars. Yea, the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. Excuse me. He maketh them also to skip like a calf. Lebanon and Syria like a young unicorn. The voice of the Lord divideth the flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shaketh the wilderness. The Lord shaketh the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord maketh the hands of calves and discovereth the forest. And in his temple doeth everyone speak of his glory. The Lord sitteth upon the flood. Yea, the Lord sitteth king forever. The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. Okay, that was Psalms 29, the voice of the Lord in the storm. Any comments on that? Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to shine a light on a couple of these verses. It says in verse 3, the voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thunder. The Lord is upon many waters. And if we go back, like I've been here, countless of times, chapter 1 of Genesis, verse 2 says in verse 1, in the beginning was God created the heavens and the earth as Yahweh. And verse 2 says, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, which is a spirit is an angel. So the angel of the Lord moved upon the face of the deep. You see right here when you cross-reference that this is the Lord right here that David's talking about in Psalms 29:3. The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thunder. The Lord is upon many waters. So he started out on the waters. So we shouldn't be surprised at who that is. And then you get a second witness to that is over in 10. 29 and 10 says, the Lord sitteth upon the flood, upon yea, the Lord sitteth king forever. So what flood he talking about? Genesis chapter 1. The Lord Yahweh and the Lord of hosts is returning to the earth. They didn't cause a flood for what Lucifer had did. And they returning to the earth. That's why he created the man and the woman on the sixth day and told them to replenish the earth. Because it was men and women here before. So they called it what Lucifer done, Samuel done in that previous earth age. They returning to the earth. And he's the one sitting upon the waters. So we don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. That means he was sitting on the flood with Noah had. Just like he was sitting on his flood. And not only that, we saw him standing in the middle of the river in Daniel chapter 10, chapter 12. So this is the God that's standing on many waters. It's our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay. Any comments? Okay, we're gonna move on to current events. Okay.
Hello, and welcome to News Insights on the fast-expanding BRICS bloc of countries. Our main focus this hour: 5 Arab nations are ready to join BRICS as local currency usage gains momentum. Let's get started. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa became one of the world's most powerful economic blocs after the 2008 financial crisis. After the 2008 financial crisis, some say the coalition was formed in retribution. These states represent the global south and developing nations economically and politically in international issues, even when they disagree ideologically and politically. BRICS has challenged the US-led G7 economies since its 2009 founding. On June 2, the original BRICS members will debate expansion before the August 2023 meeting. 19 countries have inquired in joining BRICS. Egypt, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain are among these 19 countries. 5 Arab nations joining BRICS will change Arab-Western geopolitical and economic relations. BRICS has grown steadily since its founding. In 2020, its members' GDP was $17.20 trillion. In 2020, this bloc represented 16% of global trade. In 2020, BRICS and the G7 contributed equally to global economic development, but Bloomberg predicts this will reverse by 2028. By 2028, the BRICS bloc will contribute 35% of the global economy, while the G7 will produce 28%. This increase is impressive, but the economic grouping is facing major obstacles. Economic stagnation, intra-BRICS geopolitical tensions, and serious territorial disputes outside the grouping are these challenges. China-India border tensions and the Russia-Ukraine war since February 2022 have tarnished BRICS. These examples do not diminish the bloc's economic dominance or ability to influence economic and geopolitical alliances, but they are pathological and should be addressed. BRICS expected growth to 19 additional members, including 5 key Arab governments, may benefit both parties. This possibility will boost MENA economic opportunity and enable strategic trade between Arab governments and some of the world's greatest GDPs. As of 2021, the 5 Arab nations have 206 million people and $1.854 trillion in GDP, making them essential to BRICS. At a time when the global south and developing nations are aspiring to join this bloc and more governments are turning their backs on the currency, affluent and prominent Arab countries want to make friends with BRICS is crucial. This economic commitment changes world affairs. Arab nations traditionally associated their policies, economy, and politics with the West, particularly the US. However, the merger of Arab countries into the economic powerhouse challenging the West could provide a permanent alternative economic and political alliance for Arab nations, likely changing the balance of Western power in the Middle East and making it irrelevant and indefinitely challenged. Consolidating these Arab nations could also impact the global oil market. Saudi Arabia, Algeria, and the UAE are important oil producers with large reserves and production capacities. BRICS might gain control over the global oil market by including these entities. This could impact global energy security in the future. As many experts note, adding these 19 additional member states has numerous potential benefits, but also many obstacles. Economic and political diversity is one of these main challenges. Brazil and India are democracies, while Russia and China are autocracies. While wealthy Arab states like the UAE and Saudi Arabia may join, others may be impoverished or have different global trade principles. New member nations must set goals and priorities to overcome these problems. BRICS appears to be promoting the global South's interests and challenging the West's global order in multilateral forums. After Egypt, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Algeria, the UAE, and the other 14 potential new members join BRICS, its future is uncertain. One key question remains: where does the West and the dollar fit into the BRICS economy? BRICS signed local currency credit line framework. Sanya.
Okay. Any comments on that? We saw where Mexico joined the other day, and then Saudi Arabia joined. So it's like it's picking up a serious pace. Anybody got any comments on that?
No, sir. Just that it is, like you said, picking up a good a pace, and what other country now needs to join or come into it?
Right, exactly. Right. So you hear me talking about the red hair and Harry and all that. Yeah, just with GP, if you know you haven't been paying attention, you see well it's looking like Harry's gonna be getting a divorce from Meghan Markle, and they saying in the news, all over the news, that he's gonna be welcomed back in to the royal family once he get a divorce, and not only that, it's cries going out for King Charles to step down, and that William become the king. So, like I said, keep your eyes on that. Oh, okay. So about this red hair, I want to listen to this right here. Check it out.
And welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be watching Ancestry DNA Results, Black People with Red Hair by Life with Dr. Trish Varner. I don't quite know what to expect for this video. Obviously, we're going to be getting Ancestry DNA results. I'm guessing that it's her daughter who has red hair, based on the photos that I've seen in the thumbnail. So I think that's going to be the interest, because I do know that there are Black people that have natural red hair. Now, I honestly would not be the person to ask when it comes to, you know, why do Black people have red hair? I mean, I could make guesses based on my knowledge of things, but I don't truly know. Part of why I'm saying that is because I don't honestly know if there are people where they have fully African ancestry, no European, where they do get red hair. I think the obvious thing a lot of people would expect is that someone who is Black who has red hair would also have some sort of European ancestry, and that's why they would have the genetic mutation for red hair. But being a redhead myself, I do understand that having red hair is a very complicated thing when it comes to
Notice he said that the way it has a genetic mutation.
determining it. And I think in my own 23andMe results, they said that they didn't think I was going to have red hair. I had like a really low, you know, what is it? You know, less likely to have red hair sort of reading. And, you know, I'm very obviously a ginger. It's quite obvious. So curious what she's going to say throughout this video, whether she's going to go into the actual science about that, you know, anything like that, like the history of, or not just the science, you know, mutations and all that, but more of like, you know, are there people of fully African ancestry who do have red hair? Is that common in certain areas of Africa or more common in certain areas? Or is it something that's really more limited to people who have both African ancestry and European ancestry, or to be less specific, African ancestry and some sort of like Caucasian ancestry? So not even necessarily European, but technically what a lot of people would consider more of like Western Asian as well. I'm not really going to say much else, but before we do jump into the video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. It really does help me out. Also, be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. But with all of that fun stuff said, let's go ahead and watch the video. Very cute.
But we're here to talk about our red-headed stepchild.
Stepchild? I don't know. Mama's baby, daddy's baby. I don't know. Might be the milkman.
We were in the hospital because, you know, I had a C-section. Okay, if y'all know, you know, they cut my belly. Long story, we won't talk about that here. But anyway, so I wasn't the first one who saw her. Daddy was the first one who saw her, so I'm going to let him tell this story.
Yeah, so here's Trish, you know, laid out on the table, all her insides hanging out everywhere, because C-section. Oh yeah, I gotta be graphic. Yeah.
Insides were really hanging out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They have, you know, cut open, and they pull out this lily white baby with red hair. Now, explain something. You got touch your hair.
One time, I have to tell this story. So one time we were at the gas station. It was summer or spring. It was hot. We live in Georgia. And anyway, so this lady just comes and our window is down. Karis is in her car seat. The lady reaches her hand through the car window and rubs our child's head.
I can't tell you how many times I have had some old lady come up and just start like touching my hair like, oh my God, I love the color, or something like that. It happens so often. I don't know if this was like a thing back in the day that was just people were more comfortable with it. Pretty much every single time it's happened, it's always some old lady. I don't know. I understand that, because it's so weird when you're like just doing something, all of a sudden like someone you don't know just starts walking up like hand out, like trying to grab your hair, and like it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird.
In this video, we're gonna introduce you to our little redhead, and we're going to allow you to hear her story about, you know, people coming up to her, how she feels about that, etc. I want to talk about the temper thing, though.
So, all right, there's a history of redheads on my side of the family. My dad, my uncle, and then a bunch of other cousins. Hold on.
This child, she has red hair. You know what do you call that? The saying is that redheaded people have tempers.
Yeah, let's just say this one here. The saying in the house is don't mess with the redhead.
She has a little temper. It could be because she's a youngest, I don't know. You know, sisters, most of my family.
At California Closets, our designers see room for our.
It came from like the Tennessee area, through Virginia and different things like that. But his mom is from the Bahamas. So, and of course, interesting enough, the ancestry DNA detected that. So what does it say about the iris?
Yeah, so the way that it detects it is it's looking at all of his genetic matches and then looking to see what are the places, localities that people list of, you know, their ancestry's birth or where they're from. And when Ancestry sees a whole bunch of matches, especially ones where they're shared matches, so they're matching him and then the other people doing, you know, with the same places listed, then it'll say, okay, we can recognize that it seems that there's a connection to the Bahamas, and then they can list that. And so that's where you usually get the more specific stuff. So even though it's technically the admixture, it's really using the genetic matches to do that. So the more specific the localities, usually it's because of the genetic matches. And it's basically them doing the genetic genealogy or the basics of genetic genealogy for you. So, you know, it's not always trustworthy, though, when you're looking at these because, as I've discussed in previous videos, when you're related to people, you're usually only related to them in one way, at least in a recent way, where you're going to actually match through DNA, except for people that come from endogamous populations, which is a whole different thing. But basically, when you are related to someone, you're related in one way, but they have all sorts of ancestry where you're not related to them in those ways. And so sometimes the system may pick up on ancestries that seem to be common among matches, but it's just a random sort of thing that a lot of your matches happen to have that ancestry, but you don't actually have that yourself. You're connected in another way to all of them. So hopefully that makes sense.
So it says in 1640s, blacks arrived to the Bahamas.
I would say that's what that Indian is. You know, they will always claim Native American.
Yeah.
Everybody's part Native American. I've heard about it in our ancestry too. But the thing about it, if my family has Native American, I didn't inherit any of that DNA. Yeah, and it's very possible to do that. So one thing you'll learn in this process is that even siblings can inherit different parts of the DNA, right? So let's just say I'm 75% African and 25% European. My brother could be 50% African, 25 European, 25 Native American, possible.
Yeah, it's usually not that crazy of a difference. Usually siblings it'll be similar. So, you know, like she had 12% Scottish, 10% Irish, maybe her brother got, you know, 14% Scottish, 2% Irish, and then 3% Spanish or something, or like, you know.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting, but you see how DNA works. It's gonna, you know, you can't, whatever was there is gonna show up in the person. DNA, it's not gonna just out the blue have a particular type of characteristic on you. It has to come from the semen. It originates from the semen. So it ain't just, like I was saying, it ain't just gonna be, you know, two babies born, one of them got red hair and the other one don't. No, it's a source, a DNA source. Okay, it comes from. Okay, any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments from this morning, from last night, whatever anything you want to bring up before going to this other half of the lesson on Zerubbabel and Daniel and Antiochus and the end time. Anybody have any comments?
Not right now, sir.
Did you get a chance to watch this morning's Sabbath class?
Unfortunately, I got off the road, so I was
Okay.
very exhausted. I apologize about that. Did not get a chance.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna pick it up to finish this off. Shalom. Okay, yeah. So this morning we was talking about the importance of Zerubbabel, and how that in in Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Do a little quick recap. In Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. This is supposed to be undoubtedly a prophecy pertaining to Jesus, coming of Jesus Christ. But I'm showing that it's not. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Jesus Christ. It's for all the Christians and Christian apologists and everybody else. So Daniel 9:25 says, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times." So it's a lot in this verse right here to unpack. And once it's unpacked, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that it has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. And I was showing this morning how it says you can go back and watch a video on Prophets of Awakening Sabbath class for the 10th of June. So it says, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandments to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince." So it's a person right here that gave a commandment for Israelites to come back and build a temple. And then when they got ready to come back, they needed the king, which is every king in Israel is anointed. That's what Messiah means, the anointed one. So they had to be anointed, and in order to be a king, you had to at one time be a prince. It's like when David was on the throne, he had a son, Solomon. Solomon was a prince. And then when David passed, Solomon became the king. They anointed him, and he became the king. So all the kings are anointed. So the same thing, coming on down the line. They got to be a prince, a son of a king. And when that king passes, one of those princes from his loins is anointed and become king. So this Messiah right here is a king. And the commandment to rebuild Jerusalem is only one time that you can justify that. Is yeah, you gotta turn your mic off. Yeah, so so you gotta so it's only one time that you can apply this verse, and that's they in Babylon, and they got to come back and rebuild Jerusalem. The only way you can rebuild something, it had to be tore down. So we know that Nebuchadnezzar tore Jerusalem down. He came to Jerusalem 3 times. He was sent by the Lord of hosts, and the very last time, because of what Zedekiah done, when Daniel sent the scroll to him to warn him, he took the scroll and threw it in the fire and burned it. So in retaliation to that, the Most High's indignation was inflamed. So he brought Nebuchadnezzar there, and just like Zedekiah burnt the scrolls in the fire, he burnt Jerusalem. He burnt the king's house, the temple. He burnt everything down, and then went back. So this commandment right here in Daniel 9:25 has to be when they come out of Babylon. They have to go back, and like it says, the commandment is going to go forth to rebuild Jerusalem. And then it says to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and then the street shall be built again. So when you add it up, That's the 70 years that Jeremiah prophesied they would go to Babylon. And right here, when Daniel quote this prophecy, they write at 69 years. They almost at the 70-year mark. That's why he got this prophecy. That's why he's proclaiming his prophecy. So, like I was showing, if you go, they have the books situated in a way where you won't be able to rightly divide this unless, Most High give it to you when time comes. And obviously, it's that time. So, Daniel 9:25 says, "Know therefore, understand, I'm going forth with a commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall in troublesome times." So let's look at this when this prophecy came to pass. It's in Ezra, chapter 1. Okay, so you go to Ezra chapter 1, and we see that Cyrus indeed gave the commandment right here. That Ezra chapter 1, verse 1. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. We see that it's all lining up. So Cyrus made a proclamation, which is the same as a commandment that he's fulfilling for the God of Israel, the Lord of hosts. He's doing this on account of the Lord of hosts for what he done for him. He gave him all the kingdoms of the earth, and he inquired of him to rebuild his temple that Nebuchadnezzar tore down. So that's what he says. No. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation, a commandment, throughout all his kingdom, and he put it in writing, right? Saying, "Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven, have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he have charged me," right, "to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judea." And I was showing this morning how that lines perfectly up with the prophecy. The
I can't hear you.
Still there, Brother Lynn?
There must be some technical different, something going on with his mic or the channel. So I guess we just hold on. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, shalom.
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We can hear you now.
My signal went off. It's got a bad rainstorm here, thunder and lightning. So if you go off again, I'm just gonna see everybody on Tuesday. But I was going to Zechariah chapter 4, and I was in verse 8. Moreover, the word of the Lord, the angel came to Zechariah, and he says, "The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also finish it, right? And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you." So we see right here that this Messiah, this Prince of Judah that's in Daniel 9:25, is none other than Zerubbabel. It's prophesied, you know. And then, so let's go right one more place, then I go into what I was saying. So, and I'm showing you all this for a reason. So when you go to Haggai, right? Notice I'm dealing with Zechariah and Haggai. Okay. So in Haggai chapter 2, verse 20, we see right here that the Lord made a promise to Zerubbabel. Right? In verse 20, it says, "And again the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 4th and 20th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor." King and governor, same thing. So Zerubbabel is the king of Judah. "Speak to Zerubbabel, king of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the kingdoms of the thrones of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride upon them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother." In that day, so like I said, I'm showing you that day is during the time of Haggai, Zechariah, Daniel, all of them existing at the same time when all this going on. Ain't no JC, no Jesus around. So it says, verse 23, Haggai 2 and 23. "In that day, says the Lord of hosts, I will take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant." See that? "Son of Sethel, saith the Lord, and I will make thee a signet, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord of hosts." So we see right here, Zerubbabel is a hell of a lot more important and playing a bigger role than what they did. You know, and the reason why you don't see it, because they denigrated him and put JC there and say that that's Jesus coming in the future in Daniel 9:25. But the whole time it's Zerubbabel. So we see right here, he shut down all the kingdoms between Babylon. When the 70 years is up, he came and shut down all the kingdoms from Babylon all the way to Jerusalem. And the throne of David was lifted up, and Zerubbabel was sitting on that throne. And so from Babylon, when they was released by Cyrus, they had to go back to Babylon, they had to go back to Jerusalem. Just when Zerubbabel was raised up. So the average Christian, Muslim, and agnostic, they don't know this because of what they've done to our scriptures. But it's being explained right now. And like I said, it has nothing to do with the New Testament. So like I said, you can absorb it or whatever you want to do with it. But I'm breaking it down. So we see right here, Zerubbabel was the one lifted up. This is the Messiah that was in he was talking about in Daniel 9:25. And I showed you the lineage. He sent, let's look at it right quick. He sent 2 Kings. Go to 2 Kings. Notice what I'm doing. I'm going back, to all these books in the beginning because they got them all out of order. And they have them out of order for a reason. So we see that during the time when Nebuchadnezzar came to Jerusalem, the Most High got a covenant with David. And that covenant it's always going to be a son, a prince out of his lineage on his throne. If it's any other person on that throne and they're not out of David's loins, out of his lineage, it's a breach. So the Lord himself is watching over that. That's what Daniel 9:6 is about. Unto us a child is born. I mean Isaiah 9:6. Unto us a son is given. That's the covenant that he got with David. So when you go to 2 Kings 24:8, this Jeconiah, this the king right here that was on the throne at the time when Nebuchadnezzar showed up in Jerusalem. So it says 24:8. Jeconiah was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. Right, and I explained that 3 months only because Most High is pissed off, and he want to do away with the Jerusalem, the kingship, and all that. He wanted to cut it off. So it says, and his mother's name was Nehasha, the daughter of Nathan of Jerusalem, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. And at the time of at that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem and the city and besieged it. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jeconiah, this is the king out of David's lineage, on the throne at the time. Jeconiah, the king of Judah, see that, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princesses, all these princes out of the seed of David, because they his sons, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign, and he carried him out all the treasure of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut it in pieces, all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all the Jerusalem and all the princes, right? And all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, say the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jeconiah, right? David's lineage, to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. These carried away he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. So he took David's lineage, but not only that, he took the king's mother with him, all his wives and all his children with him. That was the Lord's doing. That's why he can come to Haggai and Zechariah 70 years later and tell them, go speak to Zerubbabel, because he's watching over that lineage. Zerubbabel came from this king right here, out of David's lineage. And they was in Babylon for 70 years, Zechariah had Setham, which is right here. Let's look at it. We'll go back to Haggai right quick, and I'll show it to you. Okay, Zechariah said, let me get it. Haggai, yeah. Haggai chapter 2. Haggai chapter 2 says, chapter 2, verse 1, right? In the 2nd month, this 70 years later, when Jeconiah was taken, in the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of the Lord by the prophet Haggai, saying, speak to Zerubbabel. See that? The son of Sethel. There goes Sethel right there. Sethel came from Jeconiah, that Nebuchadnezzar took from Babylon, and not only did he take him, he took everything he needed to continue his lineage on. He brought, the Lord of hosts had him to bring Jeconiah, his mama, his wives, and everybody to Babylon. And that's how the Lord of hosts know right where to go, looking for this king, because the king got to be identified in order for them to go back and rebuild Jerusalem. So he following the lineage. He protecting David's lineage. So right here, when the time came, he went to these 2 prophets, Zechariah and Haggai, and told them, speak to Zerubbabel and tell him, I'm going to raise him up, and I'm going to bring him back to Jerusalem. Okay, so that's who Zerubbabel is. Let's look at one more place, so it'll be plain. So if you go to 2 Kings, you'll see it. It's right here, self-explanatory. Chapter 2, 2 Kings, Okay. 2 Kings chapter 25 and verse 27. So I read what Nebuchadnezzar came and got him. He was 18 years old, and took him to Babylon with all his wives and everything he needed to continue to reproduce. So then we get to 2 Kings 25 and 27. It came to pass in the 7th and 30th year of the captivity of Jeconiah. So this is the Most High keeping account through the scriptures, through these prophets. He counting these 70 years. We're in the 37th year. In verse 2 Kings 25 and 27. It came to pass in the 7th and 30th year of the captivity of Jeconiah, right, king of Judah, in the 12th month of the 7th and 20th day of the month, that evil Murdoch, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign. So Nebuchadnezzar then died. Now this Nebuchadnezzar's son, evil Murdoch, took over. In the year that he became reign, did lift up the head of Jeconiah, king of Judah, out of his prison. Now watch this. So he in prison. You can't get no kids in prison, right? You can't reproduce no kids in prison. So 28, and he spake kindly to him, set his throne above the thrones of the kings that were with him in Babylon. We just read that. He told Haggai to go tell Zerubbabel, he's gonna raise his throne up above all the thrones. And he's gonna denigrate all the rest of them. He's gonna tear all of them down. So he says, and he spake kindly to him and set his throne above all the thrones of the kings that were with him in Babylon, changed his prison garment, and he did eat bread continuously before him all the days of his life. So if you understand that, then verse 30, and his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king's daily rate for every day, all the days of his life. So when you understand that, we know how if a man is sitting at the king's table, he is provided for. Nobody can bother him. He's there solely for the king. He's the king's friend. King that took him in. So he not only if he restored his kingdom to him, his throne, he didn't restore his wives, his kids and everything. So from this point on right there, when he raised him up out of the throne, he got contact with his children, with his wives. This is where Sethel and Zerubbabel came from. Okay, so when you understand that, we're gonna pick it up now. So I showed you our any comments so far. That was a brief introduction for me to pick up from this morning. Any comments so far?
No, sir. Did they change one thing, his name, any one of them name change from one thing to another?
Say it again.
Like, did they change his name? Did anybody get their name changed?
Yeah, they changed his name to Sheshkabar.
Okay, yes.
So the reason why it's Sheshkabar is that last part of that name is the god that the Chaldeans worship. Notice Nebuchadnezzar, Meltazar, and then you got Nebuzaradan. All of them got that Zar in their name because that's like the Most High saying that we got our name in him. We got his name in us. Like Obadiah, all these men got Yah in their name. So that's the same thing with that. The Chaldeans got that Zar in their name because their God is a Zar, got a Zar in his name. So when they renamed us, changed our names, they changed our names and put their God name on us. Daniel's name was changed to Belteshazzar. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and then Zerubbabel's name was changed to Sheshbazzar. So, but it's the one and the same person when you understand what's going on. Sheshbazzar and Zerubbabel the same person.
Yes, sir. Okay, and that's another way to identify them by that last suffix.
So right here, I'm gonna read this. This gonna should connect it all together. I'm in first book of Ezra. Okay. First book of Ezra, and I'm gonna pick it up with yeah, I'm gonna start right here. So it says, so the priests and the Levites and some of the people settled in Jerusalem. So they back. This the prophecy that was completed, that was prophesied by Daniel 9:25. They back. He said the streets are gonna be built again, and the wall, and he said children are gonna be in the streets. What we see right here, it says, so the priests and the Levites and some of the people settled in Jerusalem. So the prophecy it came to pass, and the country, and the sacred singers, and the doorkeepers, and all Israel settled in their villages. So they back. And when the 7th month came, and the Israelites were all at home, they gathered as one man in the square in front of the first gate toward the east. And Joshua, the son of Jozadak, and his brothers, the priests, and Zerubbabel, the son of Sethel, and his brothers took their places and prepared the altar of God of Israel in order to offer on their burnt offerings as is directed in the book of Moses, the man of God. And they were joined by some of the other people of the land, and they erected the altar in its place. For though they had been hostile to them, all the people in the land supported them and brought sacrifices at the proper time, and the morning and the evening burnt offerings for the Lord. And they kept the camping out of festivals. That's the booths, festival booths, as it is prescribed in the law. And they brought sacrifices every day, and when it was proper. And besides these, the regular offerings and the sacrifices on the Sabbath and the new moons and all the sacred festival days, and all who had made voluntary gifts to God began to offer sacrifices to God, beginning with the new moon of the 7th month, though the temple of God was not yet rebuilt. And they paid money to the masons and the carpenters, and gave food and drink and carts to the Zidonians and the Tyrians to bring cedar timber from Lebanon and convey them in rafts to the harbor of Joppa, as Cyrus, king of Persia, had commanded them in the writing. So notice, like I said, we have so many people trying to figure out what's going to happen to us in these latter days, how it's going to go down, where it's being played out right here. You see, right here it says, let me see, and they paid money to the masons and carpenters, and they gave food and drink to the carts to the Zidonians and the Tyrians to bring cedar timber from Lebanon and convey them in rafts to the harbor of Joppa, as Cyrus, the king of Persia, had commanded him. Ain't that the same thing the king of Tyre did with Solomon? He did the same thing. And so we see it's a cycle. It's what you see going on right here. The Most High said he changed not. His laws don't change. When we leave from here, this time going back, his laws are the same as these laws. So we're going to see the same thing happen. So he says, in the second year, Zerubbabel, the son of Sethel, came to the temple of God in Jerusalem. See that? That's the Messiah right here. Came to the temple of God in Jerusalem in the 2nd month, and he began with Joshua, the son of Jozadak, and their brethren, this the high priest, and the Levitical priests, and all who had come back. See that? All who had come back from exile to Jerusalem. And they laid the foundation of the temple of God on the new moon of the 2nd month in the 2nd year after they came to Judah and Jerusalem. And they appointed the Levites who were over 20 years old to have charge of the work of the Lord. And Joshua rose up, and his sons and his brethren, and Kinmo, his brother, and the sons of Joshua, Emadan, and his son Jodah, the son of Elam, with their sons and brothers, all the Levites, as one man, pressing forward to work on the house of God. And the builders built the sanctuary of the Lord, and the priests stood in their robes with musical instruments and trumpets. And the Levites, the son of Asaph, this is the Asaph right here that you keep on seeing in the songs right here. is a chief musician to David. It says, with the sons of Asaph, with their cymbals, praising the Lord, blessing him according to the direction of David, king of Israel. And they sang loudly, giving thanks to the Lord with hymns, because all Israel enjoyed his goodness and his glory forever. And all the people sounded trumpets and gave great shout, praising the Lord for the erection of the house of the Lord. Just like Daniel 9:25 says, the house is going to be rebuilt and the streets going to be filled, right? And some of the Levitical priests and the elder men among the heads of their families who had seen the house that preceded this one, Solomon's temple, came to the building of this house with outcries and a loud lamentation, while many came with trumpets and a great shout of joy, so that the people could not hear the trumpets on account of the lamentation. For the multitude sounded the trumpets loudly, so that it was heard a long ways off. And when the enemies of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin heard it, they came to find out what the sound of the trumpets meant. And they learned that those who had returned from captivity were building the sanctuary of the Lord, the God of Israel. And they went to Zerubbabel and Joshua and the heads of the families, and they said to them, we will help you build, for we, like you, obey your Lord, and have sacrificed to him from the days of Eshkadon, king of Assyria, who brought us here. So what is he saying right here? It's the 10 tribes. Like I said over and over again, the 10 tribes is Cyrus over the 10 tribes just as well as he over Judah and Benjamin, Levi. The 10 tribes was carried away to Assyria, and Cyrus came and conquered Nebuchadnezzar and the Assyrians. So he got control of all 12 tribes. So when he made that commandment, he gave the commandment for all Israel. They can go back. And so these people right here are the ones that the king of Assyria brought there and put them in the place of the Israelites. So they got some kind of understanding of how things go. So they want to assist Israelites, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, in rebuilding their temple. But he tell them, no, you don't have no part in this. So anyway, then Zerubbabel and Josiah, the heads of the families of Israel, said to them, it is not for you and us to build the house of the Lord our God, for we will build it by ourselves. For the Lord of Israel, as Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us. So there go the commandment. Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us. That's the commandment that's in Daniel 9:25. But the heathens of the land pressed upon those who were in Judah and blockading them. Here go when they cut off. Let me read that right quick before I read this. So this Daniel 9:26, right? This Daniel 9:26 says, let's go to it. Okay, Daniel 9:26 says, and so after we see that they back in Daniel 9:25, that's what's fulfilled. Then 26, after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. See that? We know who this Messiah is. It's Zerubbabel. Shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. Then, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end wars and desolation. So we're gonna uncover that right there. And then it should explain. The lesson should be ended then. So it says, based on what I just read, it says, but in the second year of the reign of Darius, the prophet Haggai, go up. But the heathens of the land pressed upon those who were in Judah and blockaded them and hindered them from building. And by making plots and stirring up the people and uprising, they prevented the completion of the building all of the lifetime of Cyrus. So they were kept from building for 2 years until the reign of Darius. So they're going to cut off Messiah. Zerubbabel was cut off. Not JC on the cross, but right here, Zerubbabel was cut off from fulfilling the fulfilling the prophecy and the commandment of Cyrus. These Edomites and the people that was in the land that the Assyrians had brought there cut them off from finishing building the temple. So then it says, but in the second year of the reign of Darius, the prophet, so we see right here, let's look at it. So remember, we got a book of Haggai and we got a book of Zechariah in our Bible. So it says, but in the second year of the reign of Darius, the prophet Haggai and Zechariah, the son of Iddu, prophesied to the Jews who were in Judea and Jerusalem, prophesying to them in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. Then Zerubbabel, the son of Sethel, and Joshua, the son of Zadok, got up to begin to build the house of the Lord that was in Jerusalem. Wow, look at this. While the prophets of the Lord joined them to help them. So Zechariah and Haggai is helping Zerubbabel rebuild the house. The way they arrange the books over there, over the range of the books, you wouldn't know that. So we see Zechariah and Haggai is helping Zerubbabel rebuild the temple. At that very time, there came to them, I can't say his name, Sisna, the governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and Sabbath and their companions, and they said to them, by whose orders, here go the cutoff right here, by whose orders are you building this house and completing this roof and all these other things? And who are the builders who are carrying this out? Still, the elders of the Jews was shown favor, for the Lord had regard for the captives, and they were not prevented from building until Darius was informed about them and orders were issued. This is the copy of the letter which Sinus, the governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and Zerubbabel and their companions wrote and sent to Darius. Greetings to the king Darius. Let it all be known to our Lord, the king, that when we went to the country of Judah and entered the city of Jerusalem, we found the elders of Jews who had been in captivity. They back, building in the city of Jerusalem a great building building in the city of Jerusalem a great new house for the Lord of costly hewn stone with timber set in the walls. Look at the walls. He said a temple gonna be built again and the walls. So here it is. It's the prophecy. And we found the work proceeding with haste. And the undertaker prospered in prospered in their hands and being completed with all glory and diligence. Then we inquired of these elders and said, at whose command are you building this house and laying the foundation of this work? Then, in order to inform you and to write to you, we inquired of them what men were the leaders and asked them for a list of the names of those who were taking lead. And they answered and said, we are servants of the Lord who created the heavens and the earth. And the house was built many years ago by a king of Israel who was a great and strong and was finished. And when our forefathers sinned against the heavenly Lord of Israel and provoked him, he delivered them into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the king of the Chaldeans, and they tore the house down, burned it, and carried the people away as captives to Babylon. But in the first year of the reign of Cyrus over Babylonia, Cyrus the king wrote an order that this house be rebuilt, and the sacred dishes of gold and silver that Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from the house of Jerusalem and set it in his own sanctuary, Cyrus the king of Persia brought forth again. Check it out. Brought forth again from the sanctuary in Babylon, and they were given to Zerubbabel. Right here, they got Zerubbabel and Sheshbazzar. This is what I was saying about how you can train the Babylonians to do what they did. So, given to Zerubbabel and Sheshbazzar, when we know that Zerubbabel and Sheshbazzar are the same person. Zerubbabel, the governor, and he was instructed to carry all. Look at this, and he was instructed to carry all these dishes back and put them back in the sanctuary in Jerusalem, and that this sanctuary of the Lord should be rebuilt on the same spot. Then this Sheshbazzar, which is Zerubbabel, after coming here, laid the foundation of the house of the Lord, just like we read in Zechariah chapter 4. That is in Jerusalem. And although it has been under construction from then until now, it has not reached completion. Now, therefore, if it meets your approval, O king, let a search be made in the royal archives of our Lord the king in Babylon, and if it be found that the building of this house of the Lord in Jerusalem was done with the consent of Cyrus the king, and it meets the approval of our Lord the king, let him give us orders about this. Then King Darius ordered a search to be made in the royal archives that were deposited in Babylon and in the castle of Ebanica. So here we go again with the 10 tribes. See that? In the castle at Ebanica. That's what it's 10 tribes is. Go to the book of Tobit. Okay? Say, in the land of Media was found a roll in which this was recorded. In the first year of the reign of Cyrus, King Cyrus ordered the rebuilding of the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, where they sacrificed with perpetual fire, and the heights of it was to be 90 feet, and the width 90 feet, with three courses of hewn stone and a course of new native timber, and the cost of it to be provided from the house of Cyrus the king, and that the sacred dishes of the house of the Lord, and the gold and silver which Nebuchadnezzar carried away from the house in Jerusalem and removed to Babylon, be restored to the house of Jerusalem and be placed where they were. And the father ordered that Sinus, the governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and Sabbazzine and their companions, and the local governors appointed in Syria and Phoenicia should take care and let the people alone, and to permit Zerubbabel, the servant of the Lord, and governor of Judah, king of Judah, and the elders of the Jews to build the house of the Lord in its old place. And I command that it be completely built, and that they seek honestly to help the returned captives of Judah until the house of the Lord is finished, and the grant from the tribute of Coalitia and Phoenicia be particularly given these men, look at this, for sacrifices to the Lord. So like I said, this the template. So we got to come back. What do you think we got to do? We got to give sacrifices. So what do that do? They killed the bull crap in the New Testament about the ultimate sacrifice and stop the sacrifices. When we go back, we got to do the same thing right here. So it says, and Zerubbabel, let me see where I was at. It says, particularly given to these men to sacrifice to the Lord, that is to Zerubbabel the governor, for bulls, rams, lambs, and likewise wheat, salt, wine, oil, regularly every year without objection, as the priests in Jerusalem indicated. They are daily used, so that the libation may be offered to the Most High God for the king and his children, and that they may pray for their lives. So Cyrus gave a commandment to make sure that they have the rams, the goats, and everything they need to do sacrifices. So let's look at that. I'm gonna show you in the scriptures rather than tell you. So we in this the futuristic. We over here now. We don't have no temple. We're looking to go back. So I'm in Isaiah right quick. Let's look at it and see if it's not the same thing. So I'm in Isaiah chapter 60, right? And it says, this is the future glory of Zion. Arise and shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, darkness shall cover the whole earth, gross darkness to people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles, so we know this ain't no Chaldeans. So we know this is the future. The Gentiles, that's who we're charged now. Jerusalem been trodden down by the Gentiles, the third and the fourth beast. So he says, lift up thine eyes round about and see all they that gather themselves together, they come unto thee. thy sons, right, come from afar, and thy daughters shall be nursed on thy side. Thou shalt, then thou shalt see, and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Okay, see that? So he's gonna convert just like he did over there when they came out and gave Zerubbabel all the vessels and all the gold for him to go back. The same thing right here. It says the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Then verse 6, here we go. Same thing I just read. The multitude of camels shall cover thee. The drummery of Midian, Ephah, all they of Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. Then here go the verse I'm going to, 7. Isaiah 60 and 7. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebat, for what? The rams of Nebat shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with scepters upon mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. Ain't nothing new under the sun. So that verse right there killed the New Testament by itself, because it's been told the ultimate sacrifice has been made. You don't have to do no more sacrifices. The ultimate sacrifice has been made, but he provided rams, goats, and everything you need to do sacrifices, just like he did when they left Babylon. What Cyrus did. Okay, see that? Let me pick it back up. We're getting to the end. Okay, so he says, to Zerubbabel, the governor, for bulls, rams, lambs, and likewise wheat, salt, wine, oil, and regularly every year, without objection, as the priests in Jerusalem indicate, they are all daily used, so that libations may be offered to the Most High God for the king and his children. So they're giving us that in Isaiah 60 for the same thing, to make sacrifice to our Lord for libations, which is none other than the oblations, the 3 oblations, one in the morning, one at noon, and one at night, one in the evening. It says, and he commanded further that if any transgress or disregard any of the things said above or add below, and a beam shall be taken from his house, and he shall be hung on it, and his property be taken for the king. Therefore, may the Lord, whose name is called upon there, destroy any king and nation that shall stretch out their hands to hinder or damage the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. I, King Darius, have decreed that it be done in exactly this way. Then Zenas, the governor of Coalition and Phoenicia, and Sabbathine and their companions, obeying the orders of Darius the king, looked after the holy work very attentively, assisting the elders of the Jews and the governors of the temple, and the holy work progressed, while the prophet, look at this, while the prophet Haggai and Zechariah prophesied. They right there with Zerubbabel, and they completed it at the command of the Lord and the God of Israel, and with consent. Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, the kings of Persia, the holy house was finished by the 23rd day of the month of Adar in the 6th year of King Darius. And the Israelites and the priests and the rest of them returned exiles who had joined them according to what was in the book of Moses. And they offered dedications of the temple of the Lord, 100 bulls, 200 rams. See that? That's why we need the rams and the bulls in Isaiah chapter 60. 200 rams, 400 lambs, 12 he-goats for all the sin of Israel to correspond to the number of the 12 princes of the tribes of Israel, and the priests and the Levites stood robed by tribes in charge of the service of the Lord God of Israel in accordance with the book of Moses, and the doorkeepers stood at each gate. So let's look at that right quick. I'll find a way to close this out. So we say it said according to the book of Moses. Now I'm in Malachi. the last book of the Old Testament. And I'm going to read that. It's one chapter, the fourth chapter. It's the coming day of the Lord. It haven't happened yet. It said, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. All the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble. We know that's Esau. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves in stall, and ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. Why is he saying ashes? Ezekiel 37. We're going to raise up the whole house of Israel, and they're going to be like the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord is a flaming fire. That's why he's saying that right here. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, says the Lord. Now here we go, right here, what I just read. Malachi 4:4. Remember ye the laws of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him at Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and the judgment. So sacrifices is in the laws of Moses. Ain't no Jesus in the laws of Moses. So just like they did when it came out with Zerubbabel, they went by the laws of Moses. It's the same thing right here. He ain't said, remember the laws of Moses and Jesus and the sacrifice that Jesus made. He says, remember the laws of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him at Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and the judgments. See that? Okay. Ain't nothing new under the sun. What's been done gonna be done again. So he says, let me get it. Okay, so it says, and the Israelites had returned from the exile at the Passover on the 14th day of the first month, for the priests and the Levites had been purified together, but all the returned exiles had not been purified. So this is what he means by he gonna cleanse us right here in Ezekiel 37. So he's gonna cleanse us, bring us back to the land, cleanse us. It's the same thing. To return the exiles that had not been purified, clean. For the Levites had all been purified together. So they sacrificed the Passover for all the returned exiles and their brothers and their priests and themselves. And the Israelites who had returned from exile, all who had separated themselves from the accursed doings of the heathen in the land and sought the Lord. See that? So that's where we at. We caught up in these accursed things over here in Israel, over here. So whatever it is you think you doing right, he's telling you right here where we at. We doing accursed things. We tricked off. So he says, but all the returned exiles had not been purified. For the Levites had all been purified together. So they sacrificed the Passover for all the returned exiles and their brethren, the peace and themselves. And the Israelites who had returned from exile, all of who had separated themselves from the accursed doings. See that? Accursed doings of the heathen of the land and sought the Lord, ate it. And they observed the festival of unclean bread for 7 days, rejoicing before the Lord, because he had changed the attitude of the king of Assyria toward them, so as to strengthen their hand for the service of the Lord, the God of Israel. And afterwards, in the reign of Artaxerxes, the king of Persia, there came Ezra, the son of Sirah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, son of Shulam, son of Zodak, son of Achim, son of Amora, son of Uzi, son of Bucker, son of Abishu, and son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron. So Ezra is out of the lineage of Aaron, the chief priest. This Ezra came up from Babylon as a scribe, skilled in the law of Moses, which was given by the God of Israel, and the king showed him honor, for he found favor before him in all he asked. And there came, here we go right here, and there came with him to Jerusalem. See that? With him to Jerusalem. So they came from Babylon to Jerusalem. Zechariah and Haggai with him. So when you go to the book of Zechariah, Zerubbabel is king. that came riding lowly on a horse, on a mule. He came from Babylon and came into Jerusalem lowly, riding upon an ass, the coat of an ass. That's who Zerubbabel with. He ain't with Jesus. Okay, so he says, and there came with him to Jerusalem some of the Israelites and the priests. See that? Priests and the Levites and the holy singers and the doorkeepers and the temple slaves in the 7th year of the reign of Ahaz, in the 5th month. That was the king. That was the king's 7th year. For they left Babylon. See that? For they left Babylon on the new moon of the 1st month, and they reached Jerusalem. So Zerubbabel the one came lowly riding on the ass. Not Yahushua. He says, for they left Babylon on the new moon of the 1st month, and they reached Jerusalem on the new moon of the 5th month. So prosperous a journey had the Lord given them for his sake. For Ezra possessed great knowledge, so that he neglected nothing that was in the law of the Lord or the commandments, but taught all Israel all the statutes and the orders. So let's look at that. So we see right here, the Most High raised Ezra up. So you got Negroes want to say, oh, he think he know everything. Well, look what he say. You think Ezra came on the scene when he did? You think it was an accident? So he says, for Ezra possessed great knowledge, so that he neglected nothing that was in the law or the Lord or commandments, but taught all Israel the statutes and the ordinances. So you're supposed to be expecting, based on where we at, he's going to be raising up Israelites that's skilled in the law, that he done raised up and gave them the knowledge. It's not a problem. It's the Most High doing for what he's getting ready to do. So it says, now, get this, man. Okay, so he says, now, the written commission came from Artaxerxes, the king, to Ezra, the priest and the reader of the law of the Lord, and the following is a copy of it. King Artaxerxes sent Ezra, the priest and the reader of the law of the Lord, as I have taken a friendly attitude, I have given orders that those of the Jewish nation who wish to do so, and to the priests and the Levites and of the others in our realm, shall, if they choose, to go to Jerusalem with you. So let all, see that? Let all, that's all 12 tribes, let all who think of doing so set out with you, as I and the 7 friends and counselors have decided.
Shalom. Brother Leonard said if he goes out again that we resume on Tuesday, but I'm going to hold out a little bit longer to see if he'll come back on.
Shalom, shalom.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. Had a gremlin, man. Gremlin got on there and cut, and the show went off. I had to bring it back. So yeah, so I'm gonna read this and close out. So it says, you are also instructed to lay no tribute or any other tax upon any priest or Levite or sacred singer or porter or temple slave or person employed in the temple, and that no one has authority to lay any such a tax upon them. So that's what they brought over here on the transatlantic slave trade. They did everything right here, they did the opposite of it. So when the Most High fully returned and fully showed back up, it's hell to pay. They did the opposite of this. And it ain't like they didn't know who he was. They know exactly who we are. To the very day, they still don't want to reveal that. They, to this day, they refusing to acknowledge who we are. So if you're worried about repercussions, come on, they coming. All right. So with that being said, anybody got any comments on anything before we go?
Yes, sir. In Malachi in chapter 4, is he talking about repentance?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's he's gonna bring back David. It's Malachi chapter 4 is you can relate it to Ezekiel chapter 37. The last part of it says 37. Okay, get it. Okay, here it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, here you go. Pages came out. So yeah, so in Ezekiel 37, starting at verse 22, I will make them, you can just go hand in hand with the chapter 4 of Malachi. I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king over them all, and they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore, neither shall they defile themselves, right, anymore. Why? Because they're going to purify them. And more, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of their dwelling places wherein they are sinned, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And David, my servant, shall be king over them. And here you go right here. These are commandments of Moses, his laws, statutes, and judgments. It says, and they all shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. See that? Same thing we just read in Malachi. See that? That making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm following you on that.
Okay. Okay. So with that being said, nobody have any more comments off of? If you didn't watch this morning, it'd probably do you some good to watch the class from this morning. There's a lot of information given in that. Okay. So everybody good?
I'm good.
All right. So I'm gonna say shalom. I'll see everybody on Tuesday at 8 o'clock for our advanced Bible study. Okay.
Shalom, shalom, bro.
Yeah. Shalom, man. Shalom.